Don't be weird on purpose.
There you go.
That's just part of your personality.
I got a bookmark somewhere.
Oh, I got it. I found it.
I can't make recommendations today.
Yeah, I got it.
Did you get my text? Did you laugh out loud?
Yeah, I don't know how ragey.
A little breezy coming up. Quarter into that, isn't it?
Only two trainers.
Hey, Miss Waring, Riley, did you happen to know how to leave a Google Classroom? Like how to remove yourself? You might help Miss Fox. Other duties as assigned. I didn't see it on your.
So I do a picture,
So like mommy was flashing it all?
Where? Where was that?
So you were looking at those three that you guys.
We're looking at the ellipse, not the verticals. Look at you, Bradley.
I'm the favorite one.
I go to grades like I was doing on my grading today.
Your dad's so good.
Okay, just a reminder, if you'd like to sign up to speak during visitor comments, Mr. Bradley, the second best looking guy in here with the tie on, has a sign up sheet right by him. I just give the announcement, if you're talking, you sign up. This is the last one here.
All right, we got 6 bills. All right. Welcome, everybody. If you please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, welcome everybody to tonight's board meeting. With that, I'll move to Mr. Jeff would get back with the sign-in sheet. Looks like the first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda with additional bills. What are the wishes of the board?
I'll move. I'll second.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hurst. Thank you, Mrs. Slade, appreciate it. All right, been properly moved and seconded. Is there discussion? I think everything was in our Google Drive on that one, so didn't really see any.
Oh, underneath.
Yeah, those will come in information items, so that's all good there.
Thanks.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed with the vote. All those in favor of the approval of the agenda with additional bills, please signify by stating aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
All right, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we're up to item 3, good things happening. As always, we have our link there with the monthly good news happening. You can find that on the link to the agenda as well as on the homepage of our website. But importantly, as well as that, we have the WMEA All-State Music presentation here. We have Mr. Bradley and company are here to talk about the good things that they've got going on. So, Mr. Bradley, the next 40 minutes are yours.
Try not to go over too long. So in January, surrounding Martin Luther King weekend,
These 5 students and I went up to Sheridan for the All-State Band Orchestra and Choir event, as well as the Wyoming Music Educators Association Professional Development Conference for music educators. And we had Cooper, who's a freshman, and he was playing trombone in the All-State Band. Briley, with her second selection for an All-State group, was playing trumpet in the orchestra. Elena is a sophomore, and she played violin, and she was actually second chair in the orchestra, next to a senior, right?
Actually sophomore.
Oh, he was a sophomore too? Well, young ones, you turned it up. Rebecca played timpani in the orchestra, and it was her first selection in the All-State groups, and Megan played percussion in the band, and it was her second selection. And so they got to work with the best musicians in the state of Wyoming and play under some really great and entertaining conductors. Do you guys have anything you guys want to share about the experience, whether it was at the conference or just in travel or meeting other students from around the state?
I really enjoyed it. It was my first time experiencing anything like this type of thing before. I personally enjoyed it. Sometimes I don't get to play with as experienced players as myself, and so for me to come and just have a really good time and play music that I love to play was quite an experience.
It was a very good experience for me because my first year I got in, it was online, and it wasn't nearly the same thing as in person. So I was really excited to get to go this year, and there was just a bunch of great musicians, and they were all like supportive of each other, and it was just a very good experience.
I like the experience the kids get to have because they're surrounded by like these elite other high school musicians, and it raises the bar for music in their mind, and then they come back to home, and for them it can be a little frustrating coming back to like not all state level, but then I just say, you know, now you're leaders, now you're mentors, what are you going to do to advance the program further? I also got to present a session for the other music educators in the state, so I did a short professional development session just on teaching percussionists from a non-percussionist, teaching percussion from a non-percussionist standpoint, and I had pretty good attendance when I got to do that, so it was good that I could both attend professional development and give back to the music education community. And then, since we just got back and we're standing up here, Megan and Briley and I just got back last night at 11:30 p.m. from Seattle. They got to go to All Northwest Music, and so they played in Bellevue, Washington, and that was a lot of rehearsing and a lot of walking, and a lot of culture experience, and it was essentially the same thing, but they were selected from students out of Alaska, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. And that's an event that happens every 2 years. So, yeah, so that was even more intense. And we just want to say thank you from us to the school board and Mr. Jeffco, Mr. Sandlin, Mr. Philo, and even like Mrs. Becker and everybody just involved in the admin, because the music starts, like these kids can do what they can do in high school with me because of the music education that happens at the elementary school, at the middle school, and at the high school. And these kids get to have these life-changing opportunities because of that support. So thank you, and thank all of you as well. It was a good time for the kids. And now we move forward.
Two questions for you, Mr. Bradley.
Yes,
I don't
sir.
think we've run any articles or anything. If you had pictures and a quick write-up, or I can task some of these guys to help
Sure.
write up something, we can get that to Mrs. Jones.
Yes.
We'll get that out there. And the other one, what do we got going on tomorrow night?
Oh, band concert tomorrow night. Yeah, middle school and high school band concert tomorrow night. The middle school is going to be doing what we call their serious music concert because of the way that the schedule works. We've got students going to the 8th grade honor band on the last Monday of February, and so the middle schoolers do their music for festival, which is in early March in Cheyenne. And then they get to do their fun music concert at the end. These guys, the high schoolers, they get to do their fun music concert tomorrow night. So the high school is going to be playing music from different movies. So we'll be featuring music from Pirates of the Caribbean, a bunch of Pixar movies, and then How to Train Your Dragon tomorrow in the concert. And then we'll also get to showcase our jazz bands and brag on the. It's been a busy month. We did a jazz festival in Casper. What was it? February 7th, 8th. February 8th, and so tomorrow night at the concert I'll also get to brag on some students that won some pretty cool awards and got to spend part of their time in Casper auditioning for scholarships at Casper College successfully. So Spoilers. So, thanks everyone.
Questions for Mr. Bradley or the students? Anything?
I just wanna say you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
I really appreciate everything that,
Those guys make my job easy.
yeah.
So,
Awesome.
but I love what I do, and I love where I do it. So, this is great.
Great.
Well, thank you all.
Thanks everyone. Thanks kids. As you were.
Where's the concert gonna be held?
In the high school auditorium.
What time?
7 p.m.
Another good news, our
Thanks.
Tess Palin from Glendale has been awarded the highest top University of Wyoming scholarship, the University of Wyoming Trustee Scholarship. So I want everyone to know
Yay.
Tess awarded that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Was there any doubt?
No, there's no doubt. She's not even quite sure where she's gonna go yet, but they did give her the top scholarship.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'll put this one in here. It's really just kind of an update on current situations that are happening. If you're tracking state wrestling, we're all worried about the storm that's pending and heading our direction. So we had a WHSA board meeting this morning that I attended, and the plan is right now to keep the wrestling as scheduled, but everybody's highly encouraged to get there before the storm. Because if 13 teams can't make it, then they'll cancel it. But if 5 teams can't make it, the tournament will go on. And we don't want to be one of those 5 teams staying home. So Mr. Sandlin and Mr. Philo are making the arrangements to have our kiddos and wrestlers leave tomorrow. It'll add an additional day, but we felt like we got to get the kids there, and so they can have that opportunity. So if you're hearing hubbub about state wrestling, that's the hubbub. Did you get a Champions Walk scheduled if the board wants to attend?
Yep, it'll be the end of second hour tomorrow, which is
9:45-ish, 9:50.
Yeah, end of second hour. Check their website for their bell schedule, or I can text it out as well. They'll do their Champions Walk as the wrestlers are leaving.
I don't know what a Champions Walk is.
Something pretty neat that the high school puts together. So every culminating event, whether it's band, theater, athletics, when they depart to a pep rally and fanfare for the bus. So there'll be a little pep assembly, and then they strike up the band as they're walking out. That's the plan for tomorrow. Summarized it well enough. So, yeah. So, I'll shoot you out that text if we don't get it by the end of tonight.
Other good news, don't know if anybody in the crowd got to see the Three Musketeers put on by the Donald Club and the Thespian Troupe. Fantastic performance, I must say. For sure. Okay, all right.
Item number 4, visitors' comments. As per policy BDDH, we ask stakeholders to sign up. At this part of it, we have 30 minutes set aside, but we do not have anybody signed up to take advantage of that time. So we can move on to the consent agenda.
All right. Moving on to the consent agenda, what are the wishes of the board?
I'll make a motion to.
Thank you.
Well, shy. I'll second it.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Sal. Been properly moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
So on this one here, I'll ask Mrs. Wilson to talk a little bit about some of the bills that you're seeing in there, some discrepancies that you may have picked up on.
Yes, so in your packet, you will see when we
But
look
the
at
packet
the,
will be online.
in your board information packet, it talks about the bank reconciliation report for the activity fund. I just wanted to clear up some issues that we're having in our accounting system. We are in the process of leaving a financial institution and going to another financial institution. And in doing that, right now in our activity fund, it's trying to merge 2 of those accounts, and it's not acting the way we would like it to, and they're not merging properly. So we have a call into our tech support with our accounting software to figure out how can we get these 2 reports to either be completely separate or to stop merging. It doesn't know which account it's posting to. Is it posting to this financial institution or this financial institution, because they're the same account? It's all running out of the activity account. So just so you know, we're aware, we're watching it, and I was able to take and kind of do it by hand, if you'd like to see that, of how it all adds up, and it does match. The variances are 19,000 is what you're off in this account, and then you're off 19, so they balance, if that makes sense. So if you have any questions about it, like I said, we're working right now with our support system to see how we can stop this. Our best goal is just to get all the checks cleared out of the other account, and then we're done. And then it'll migrate over much cleaner, much nicer. But I just wanted you to be aware that we are aware that it is happening. We have been in contact with them, and we're still waiting for that did not work. Can we try B now, plan B? So, just so you guys are aware.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Give you a minute to kind of cruise through that. And last call for discussion. Seeing none, we'll proceed with the vote. All those in favor of the approval of the consent agenda signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I forgot to mention just a little bit ago, Mr. Urban texted with an equipment issue here just about 15 minutes prior out. He's back in a different battle, so went ahead and excused him for the evening, so he's not with us tonight. Just wanted to make a quick note of that. I probably should have said that at the beginning, but just kind of remembered that. Thanks. All right. Moving on. Kind of an interesting thing we get here now. We get to bring something off the table in old business, and I need a school board member to make a motion to bring the autonomous vacuum off the table.
I'll make a motion to take the what vacuum?
Autonomous?
Autonomous vacuum bid from the table, off the table.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. Do I have a second?
Before I do that, exactly what does that mean, taking it off?
It's how we bring it off the table to bring it back into the discussion.
Okay, I will second that.
All right, thank you, Ms. Simmons. All right, properly moved and seconded. Bringing one off the table is a discussion item, it could be. I don't think it is. I think we bring it into discussion as we bring it off the table, so. All right, well, for all those in favor of removing the approval of the vacuum bid from the table, please signify by stating aye. Aye. All opposed? Same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, so the administration recommends the approval of the vacuum bid as presented.
What are the wishes of the board?
Time for discussion?
Not yet, we have to bring it,
Okay.
we have to open it into discussion. Do we have a motion?
You just want a motion to be able to talk about it? I make a motion to talk
Thank
about
you.
it.
Thank you.
There we go. Now, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, thank you, Ms. Jones. Now, been properly moved and second for the approval of the vacuum bid. Is there discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we brought this in January. It was tabled to the February board meeting. There was a request for additional budget information to be presented. We presented that in an email as well as at the work session last week. Answered all the questions that you may have of it, explained the reasoning for it. the research that went into it, with the use of the CARES money. This is a grant-funded item. We've expressed that we're short-staffed, we need assistance, and this would provide that for us.
Thank you, Mr. Jasko. Is there further discussion?
I just want to say, part of my reservation about this, and I think we've all discussed it quite a bit at different times, is it helps one school for 5 years, and all of them are short-staffed. So, you know, maybe it's a good deal. I don't know. I did not get over to the, you know, I haven't talked to the people that are going to use it themselves. I don't know what their thoughts are. In my mind, as I've stated before, if we could, I would like to see the majority of our CARES money go into our staff as much as we can. And I know you had mentioned, you know, that some of the districts that are doing CARES money as far as that go into staff to the health and wellness benefit or retention benefit, you know, are having maybe some second thoughts on that. I do have a friend in another district, and they work directly with the state and wrote the grant with the state, and they are not having any issues doing that. So I would like to see our CARES money go spread out as much as possible. I guess I'm wondering about a $100,000 vacuum cleaner and what happens in 5 years if we don't have the money in the budget to buy the new stuff. So I'm not sold on the vacuum cleaner, but that's just my opinion.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, a couple on there. Not all of our buildings are short-staffed on custodian in the district. And this is $100,000 for the vacuum, that we still retain the vacuum after 5 years. And during that 5 years, it covers everything. Filter's busted, they fix it. Covers the maintenance, it covers monthly checks on it. And we did write our plan with the state as well. I don't know what district you talked to, but everybody had to write their plan with the state. And so you spread that $100,000 out over the 5 years, and it's out of 3.2 million. And I know that's a big number. $100,000 out of my checkbook is a big number, but out of 3.2 million, it's quite a bit. I know Mrs. Wilson and I have worked on this, as well as the other admin cabinet. We see it, it's available in the budget. And we talked at the work session about how we can use our funds and what we have squirreled away of that money for our staff, just when we get the green light. So I feel like those options are in place. This would just help. We could buy 5 of them. I mean, we don't have to buy one. If the hesitation is with one building, we could buy multiple vacuums. If that's, since 3 of the 7, or 4 of the 7 are short-staffed.
Yeah, it seems to me, as I recall, the original vacuum bid was also under proof of concept to make sure that if it could function, then what other buildings would get one. It was kind of the original intent of that as well, from what I remember, but.
Because they now make an anonymous scrubber, so that'll do smooth surfaces. They just have the vacuum first.
So you're meaning like it could work with gym floor or something like that?
So the vacuum itself will vacuum the floor, it just won't scrub it. So you could turn it loose on a hard surface, the cafeteria, a gym floor, and it would vacuum it instead of sweep it. It just won't. Mr. Miyagi.
Right, so they do make those, so you have an option for something like that, like, well, cause I was thinking in terms of West Elementary, I just didn't know how easy that would be for a machine like that to navigate in that particular building.
So it can navigate in there.
Okay.
That's more like Chairman Capco was talking about, the proof of concept. Middle school, big, long, open, straight hallways. Let it navigate in there before you turn it into the maze at West, or before you turn it into high school. Talking with the vendors, Glendale would be interesting going down the hallway. It said it may have issues turning and then coming back the other way, but it could go into the small gym there as well. You'd have to manually push it through the cafeteria doors, cause it'll drive through a double door if there's no bar, but you have to push it through a single door, just cause it'll sense it's too close to the door jamb, and then won't go through.
So they went and looked at every school?
Yeah, cause this, the bid went to Cowboy Joe, or they were the ones that submitted, and they're our cleaning supplier. So they work with all of our schools, they are this product vendor, they talk about custodians per square foot and train our custodians.
So they talked to the custodian?
Yep, and they have a very intimate knowledge of our building needs. They may not have talked to the custodians about using the vacuum.
That was my question.
Right. Has anyone discussed that you know of, with the custodians about it? Is it pretty user-friendly or?
I've been through the training, Mr. Gonzalez has been through the training, we haven't trained our custodians on it because we don't own it. And
Yeah, would you say it's pretty user-friendly?
Mr. Gonzalez programmed eighth grade hallway in a couple minutes. And then I see it as, we hand vacuum, all of our buildings, but just the square footage of the middle school that we hand vacuum. This would be helpful. And again, we can buy 5 of them, we can buy 7 of them. We can buy 5 vacuums, and we could buy 2 auto scrubbers.
Right, and not concerned about when this, CARES money is used at, that we'll have problems with maintaining it at that point?
It's just like maintaining any other piece of equipment we have.
Right, and it should really cut the time the custodians spend?
Time, repetitive work injuries. You can be monitoring a basketball game, cleaning up a basketball game while it's vacuuming, and you can walk out the door with it vacuuming, and it'll be there in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need to sit and wait for it.
Right.
It can work when you're not even there.
So I guess, in reading the contract with the 5-year maintenance schedule, the question that I had, and I thought I had asked it, but I still don't have a clear idea of this. Over that 5-year period, then in order to keep it going and moving, is there like an estimated, cost increase or anything? Do you just renew that, contract then at that point for the similar amount of money as what's on the bid currently?
Yep, so you can renew the technology part of it, but they have no guess on what the upgrade would be 5 years
Okay.
from now. If we don't upgrade the autonomous part of it, it is a ride-on chariot vacuum. So it's not the repetitive motion of hand vacuuming. You can still ride on it like a Zamboni.
And it would
and
still work
Yeah.
in that capacity?
So in 5 years, you could choose to not automate it, and you would still have.
And then what would the capabilities of it then at that point, if we use it like the Zamboni, if it, getting in those smaller spaces, it's still not that feasible for, like,
Well,
classroom?
Classrooms, yeah, it doesn't do that, because it would, the bubble around it that it needs to navigate would be too narrow. But it would free up custodians to go deep clean bathrooms, to deep clean desks, lockers, whatever, while that was taken there. Because we spend about an hour and a half, 2 people an hour and a half a night vacuuming, so 3 man-hours a day, 15 man-hours a week vacuuming. And this would do it while they were doing something else. We're not looking to replace custodians.
Right.
We're looking to free them up to do the non-automated tasks.
Any further discussion? Discussion. Seeing none, we'll proceed with the vote. All those in favor of the approval of the vacuum bid, please signify by stating aye. Aye.
I guess I'll say aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries. Just a second there.
Item B, under new business, administration recommends the approval of policy EFC meal charge on the second and final reading.
What are the wishes of the board?
I will move to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Been properly moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Is this the one that we had to make a change to since the last reading?
I think that's one we're bringing up from position. Drug administration.
Right, but I thought after our audit that we found that there was something that we needed to tweak in there. I know that you had mentioned at one time it was a different policy, but then I thought there was something mentioned that we had to fix something in this one. Anybody?
They're calling that sucks.
Okay. I thought it was something mentioned last month. What was about this one, because I had to do it with the audit.
I know a lot of this had to do with the audit, but I don't think we had to change in January. Yeah, we talked about changing.
I think that was
That
it,
was
right?
2 months ago.
Yeah.
2 months ago.
So,
Because we
But I
changed it
thought-
from Power
Yeah,
School,
Power
so
School
that
back.
two case we ever changed that.
Further discussion? Discussion. Seeing none, we'll proceed with the vote. All those in favor of the approval of policy EFC meal charge on second and final reading, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Item number 2, the administration recommends the approval of policy EEAA, EEAB, walkers and riders transportation on the second and final reading.
What are the wishes of the board?
I will move to approve the policy EEAA and EEAB.
Thank you, Ms.
Second.
Fox. Thank you, Ms. Fox. Been properly moved and seconded. Is there discussion? We spent quite a bit of time in policy committee with this one. So I think everything worked out pretty good at the end. So. Yes, ma'am. Well, it doesn't have the update from the first reading. Okay, we'll have to know.
We'll update all those.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All good. Good call. Good catch. All right. Is there further discussion? Or any, I guess I should say. Discussion. Seeing none, we'll proceed with the vote. All those in favor of the approval of policy EEAA, EEAB, walkers and riders, student transportation on second and final reading, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Item number 3, the administration recommends the approval of seeking bids for the track resurfacing bid process.
What are the wishes of the board?
I'll make a motion to.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I second the motion.
Was that from Connie?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Eller, appreciate it. All right, but it's been properly moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this would allow us to go out for a bid to resurface the high school track. It has reached its twilight years. We've got a couple things that need to happen to it before we host the regional track event in May of '24. That would require some painting of additional lines. So we wanted to entertain getting a bid for it to utilize our major maintenance money, because that would be the repair of a piece of equipment. So we wanted to see what that would come in to help us make a better decision if it's we resurface it now or we paint it now. Because I'd hate to paint it and then resurface it the next year.
Yeah.
Then we're losing $7 grand-ish. So,
Do we normally get more than one bid?
this one we might, the company that did it last was out of Arizona. The other company that's been doing it now is Renner Sports out of Colorado. So, yeah.
So, when was the last time it was resurfaced?
Before my time, I know Mr. Curtis Wilson poured the concrete for it. Maybe about when Mr. Gonzalez was getting here 9-10 years ago.
I've been here for 17, so it was
Dog years.
I was gonna say, I didn't know Kurt.
It's been-
There you go.
I think
You know,
it's
I'm
about
not-
14.
I'm not positive because it was black back when my wife and I were in high school, which was a long time ago.
It was 2008.
Is that when it
or
was, when they
9.
did it?
Mhm.
Okay,
So
so
about
it's been
14.
quite a long time.
They say about 10 years on the track, but our abrasive wind probably speeds that up a little faster. It makes it even worse, so.
It's freeze thaw
Yes.
is the big issue.
Again, as with the bid process, this would cause us, or allow us to go out and get it, and then up to board approval on a bid. And then we'd be spent with major maintenance money.
Yep.
All right, is there further discussion? Discussion. Seeing none, we'll proceed with a vote. All those in favor of approving the track resurfacing bid? Sir? Sure how-
Seeking a bid.
Sure.
Search probably, that's a good word.
Yes, search.
That's right there, process.
Right, process, there we go, there we go. Oh, sure. All those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Item number 4, personnel hiring. The superintendent recommends the approval of the personnel hiring as found in your Google Drive.
What are the wishes of the board?
I had some questions about this, so I didn't know if we should have to go into executive session just to ask about wages and things. You know, executive type of questions.
I'll make a motion real quick to discuss the personnel, or approve the personnel hiring.
I'll second it. All right, thank you, Ms. Fox, thank you, Ms.
Just a quick,
Ms. Lay. Okay, been properly moved and seconded, is there discussion?
that's when I asked for executive session, so we can discuss it? Because we can't really when it's personnel, can we? Just, I mean,
So,
like,
so yeah, anything specific would have to be,
it would
whether
hurt
you
to
need,
go
you
to
know,
ask
hours
for
on-
5 minutes, just to ask some questions?
um,
Can we ask
I think there's a way to do that, yeah.
I would like to make a motion that we go into executive session for quick answer of some questions about
So
personnel.
now it's gonna be Mrs. Eller, not Ms. Fox.
Yeah, cause
Yeah.
that was, yeah.
Okay, and do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, thank you, Ms. Jenkins.
We need to go into exec.
All right, been properly moved and seconded. I don't think there's a discussion piece of that one. All those in favor of moving into executive session, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. So, we are in exec, yes.
I do know that name, I do know that.
Is it 6:42 now?
Okay, yeah, no, it's just-
Who made that? In a second.
Sean seconded it. No, I put a second to go in, to come out.
Come out.
Oh, Yes, I
Okay,
second it.
thank you.
Jesus, darling.
Oh, no.
Don't laugh at my chair.
Sorry, Connie.
All right.
But look at you pulled him
I know it. It just died on me. There we go. It had a flat.
Well, with that,
There it goes again.
we still have a motion on the table.
No. I made a recommendation. Superintendent recommends the approval of the personnel hiring as found in your Google Drive.
All right, what are the wishes of the board?
So we have to,
Because you went into exec before we
okay,
had a motion.
I will make a motion to approve
Approve the
the
personnel
personnel.
hiring. I
I
second the
second.
motion. And she seconds it.
Okay. Ms. Hoffman, I'll give that to you.
Okay.
All right, thank you. All right. I guess the discussion was already had, so I think we're moving on.
Yep.
All those in favor of the approval of the personnel hiring is found in our Google Drives, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same side. Motion carries.
Good. Thank you, principals and directors. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank
We
you.
do appreciate you guys all, thank you.
Information items, historical enrollment, not knocking anybody off the chair, we're going down. 903, if I remember right. 902, sorry. As of February 1, that's 902 noses enrolled in our district. Not necessarily full-time as we talked about last work session. The other item on my information is the Prairie View Community School update from the district perspective. If you need to move, there's some chairs on the side here, otherwise it's up on the TV. So just some negotiation agreements and the timelines. We're in the process of negotiating this agreement between Prairie View Community Schools and Platte One. The three areas we're looking at are the financials, the student support, and the facilities. It's going to be the agreement between the two entities. Another timeline, March 1st is another stepping stone in the process with the SLIB approved charter school and providing the prospective enrollments. And this is to help us with the budgeting process, both for Prairie View Community School, the state, and Platte One. On the right, we talk about the advisors that we have. We have the admin cabinet, the WD Finance, the school facilities division, our district council, Mr. Scott Kopecki at Kopecki Kitchens and Calf, and as well as some out-of-district resources with other superintendents, business managers, and their council as well. So again, we're not going through this alone. We're using many advisors to help Platte One on this. One of the big hurdles is the financial part. We've been discussing, the current state statute talks about the SLIB approved charter school being entitled to 100% of the model generated student funds, and it's up to the district and the approver to come to that agreement on what that amount would be. It could be 120%, it could be 101%, but if the groups cannot agree, it goes to 80%. So just a quick little chart that would show the blue would be the 100% based on the number of students that would be attending Prairie View Community Schools, and then the red and the gold would be if it was split 80-20. We did get it confirmed that 20% of that fund is retained in the district. So when we go to the next slide here, that green column on the right, that would be the 20% that the district would retain. And again, these are all rough numbers. The WD would give us the actuals. And then I just put it in perspective, because sometimes we don't know what $69,000 means to the district. But that's the cost of hiring one first-year teacher with benefits. It's just shy of $69,000. The $179,000 would be half of the supply budget that we spent in fiscal year '22. And then the final one, the $276,000, that was what our 11-month premium for our property insurance was in FY '22. Just to give you kind of a perspective on what that money would mean for the district. The support services that have been in brief conversation, food service. Some of my concerns with that are any additional costs that we're going to incur, as well as additional staffing. Food service is one of those departments where we've historically been short-staffed. The logistics of serving food, where are we going to be serving this food at? And then the process of establishing the cost of the meals. That kind of goes back to the first point of additional costs. Where do we charge to offset that? And then the payment for the meals. How would that work out? Again, this is all new to everybody, including the legislature. so we're working our way through it. Transportation, my concerns would be additional routes, drivers, and riders, and then the very time schedule. If Prairie View Community School is not operating on the same bell schedule that we are operating on, how does that work? If there's a field trip, what would that look like? And so on and so forth. And then special education, I've yet to have this one answered. Who is ultimately responsible if an IEP is misadministered? Is it the district? Is it the charter school? Is it the state? Nobody has volunteered to take that ultimate accountability. SPED is having some staffing shortages throughout the state. If there are various approaches to the education, if our SPED teachers are trained in one manner of presenting information, if that doesn't align with the Prairie View Community Schools philosophy and desires, how do we work through that? And then the last one, the accountability of the implementation of an IEP. Who's responsible for that? If we have services provided, who's ultimately responsible for making sure they're happening in the classroom? Again, stuff that we haven't been through, that could all be worked out, but again, just concerns that we're having, or that I'm having as of now. And then the facility, I think that's the big one. Mr. Winger and I have talked about this one. It's, to have a school, you have to have a location. So the two ideas we've talked about is the Chugwater Elementary, which right now is empty, and then the Chugwater K-12, which is currently occupied. The statute talks about the term available, and nobody has really defined what available means. My stance has been if it's open for our students, then it's not available. We talked a little bit about leasing out or renting out the Chugwater Elementary. I was asked to provide some rental information, working with a realtor as well as some web searches in Cheyenne. We decreased the Cheyenne amount quite a bit, and Max Minnick, our realtor, said $5 a square foot is probably a good number to start with. It's a 21,000 square foot facility. That puts the lease at $87.50 a month. And then we averaged the utilities, Mrs. Wilson and I, $4,500 was the average for just that building. And then another concern with the lease, the building's been gutted. There's no tables, chairs, desks, shelves, all the kitchen equipment has been moved out. And it would take a little upkeep to get it going. It is for sale. That was the last board action that took place in January of '22. The board guided me to put it on the market and list it. It is currently listed at $290,000 with Max Minnick, 15 months on the market. I feel like that would be the best option because it would remove it from our books and our property. We wouldn't have to insure it. We would just be able to move it on down the road to the next purchaser. And that is all I had. I can provide you this as well. You do have the written version in front of you. But stand for any questions from the board?
It sounds like the new facility is barely gonna be occupied next year if things go as planned. You know?
But we don't know that.
No, we don't know that. We can only look at probability at this point, but that is, that's a concern too if we don't have any kids. So we're paying $4,500 a month on the utilities now, or probably not because they're not in there?
Correct. It's mothballed and just vacant.
I think that those numbers were based off of when the building was up and running,
Okay.
when we had our elementary
Yeah.
schools in there. If I remember correctly, that's what we averaged out in.
Which was 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
Just two.
19,
This is our second year
18,
operating.
and 19.
Okay, was the last year. So with the increase in utilities, I suspect that would be more than that. Has these meetings move forward, do you have a scheduled time that you're meeting, and is it possible for a member of the board or two to be involved in that?
Mr. Winger and I haven't established our next meeting. We just
Oh.
started chatting when I was in San Antonio
Oh,
about next steps, and they're really needing to secure something so they can move forward. You know, there's been discussion of selling it to Prairie View and what that would look like, or renting it, or
So if it's on the market, they can buy it, right?
so we haven't talked about if our next meeting, if who's all in attendance, and keep you updated with that.
And you haven't talked with Prairie View about their options if they want to rent or buy? They haven't talked to,
We brought up renting at one of our last meetings with the whole group, I would say, because we had a whole group meeting, and then Mr. Winger and I met, and then we're to today.
and renting would probably be 8,000-9,000 a month? Is that what
That was the first number. That would be the sticker price that was presented, just off what Max was telling us for a comparable
If they
office
rent
space.
to own? Go from there.
I think the rough number we put together at that, I think it'd be like 153, 169,000 in the first year, with utilities. I mean, so that wouldn't be the rent to own. But 8750 by 12.
And what, does that school building cost us anything right now? No, not on the insurance, not on anything, so it's not,
So
but
if we,
it's not bringing anything in either.
if we were to go to leasing it, then we would have to activate the property insurance.
Do we have a ballpark of what that would bring us? What it
Not,
used to- Okay.
not on the top
And
of my head.
I'm sorry,
No,
I
that's
didn't mean to
okay.
put you on this spot, it just was a thought that popped in my head.
Yeah, no, I
apologize
would
for
have to, I can look back at some old,
that.
property.
I can come see you about that, I apologize,
No.
it just popped in my head.
Well, I really feel, I mean, these are our kids we're talking about, these are Platte County kids we're talking about, for the most part. It does sound like, you know, and I was just down in Cheyenne, and there's just a tremendous amount of housing north of Cheyenne and around 30 miles north. And I'm like, you know, I'm thinking that this has the possibility of growing some students, and more numbers are an advantage. But I guess I can't get over the fact that these are our kids. And I kind of feel like there's a little bit of, you know, attitude like these are not our kids, and so I really just want to cooperate, I guess. And I love the idea that a building that's standing vacant might get used, and so.
Absolutely, just lots of variables, of course, from the legislative realm all the way down, but I think as long as those lines of communication are open, I think there's some solutions to seek out there. That's my personal opinion.
And this wouldn't be a board action, but if we were to lease it, would you want it to remain on the market or be taken off the market? Because you can write a lease agreement to have a clause in there, if sold, X, Y, and Z.
Take it off.
I would say take it off.
If you're asking our opinion, I would
It's
say
not
take
even
it
real
off.
estate, I don't know.
Have we had any bites on it at all?
We've had 5 people look at it, I think.
Surprising.
In 15 months.
I think 3 of them were right out of the gates too. So. Been a little bit of a drop. We dropped the price down. I think we started at $320. We dropped 30,000 off it.
Well, thank you for the report.
Absolutely.
Just write down that if if discussions happen about leasing it, then I can have a little guidance that, because the last board direction in 22 of January 22 was to sell it. And I just wanted kind of a temperature check with the board if it was, if it's leased, are we okay not selling it then?
Or would it be better for us to just keep leasing it and not sell it?
That's up to you guys.
Yeah, that would,
You want to.
have to have some more
Would
information.
be a landlord.
Yeah, I
That's-
don't know.
Yeah,
That's the part I don't
like I said,
like,
lots,
because there's
lots of the
We should
unknowns,
have
lots
money
of
coming
variables.
in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And so, did you get an answer for your question, Sean, about whether or not a board member can be part of those meetings?
Well, he's
He said, yeah,
still
they would
working,
schedule
still working with them to make,
A schedule?
well, just future meetings, so.
Yeah, because the last direction I had was to negotiate and then bring the negotiation to the board. So it was tasked to me.
Right.
It wasn't necessarily with board members, but I don't know if it
I think
can be or can't be, or
informationally, I think it'd be beneficial.
why would you say that?
I don't know, just more views and. We're being encouraged to, you know, as a board, to think for ourselves some too, you know, and so I think that that would be a statement in that direction.
Okay, then next on the agenda, the business manager's report.
Okay. Just to recap, we go over the previous 3 years for our expenditures. The general fund, that is mainly used for salary, benefits, supplies for all schools. As you can see, our budget is decreasing, so our expenditures are decreasing, which is what we'd like to see. January, it looks like we gained a little bit of ground with our general fund of not spending as much as we have in prior years, so that's good. We don't have as much money, so we can't spend as much money. Capital construction, all of our projects are wrapping up with the state. I'm in contact with the state right now, trying to figure out how to get those final payouts paid out to the contractor so we can be done with our West project and our Commons project and our Libby project and the high school auditorium, as well as those final invoices and punch lists are being checked. Enterprise lunch fund, looks like we kind of stocked up a little bit in December, so January we're looking like we've spent a little bit less. We've got that stock up on our goods. Gotta feed the kids. Next, major maintenance. Again, we're looking at paying out all of the remaining balances, and I'm just in communication with the state right now going, okay, who has to pay for that final invoice? Is it me? Is it you? Is it the both of us? Is it a mix? And then what happens with the remaining funds of the retainage that because we're gonna be allowed to keep some retainage from those projects. Activities fund, again, this is the students' money. They're allowed to spend their money. They fundraise for it. We're just the keeper of that money for each of the activities. Federal grant money, it's been kind of quiet with federal grants lately. I think we've pretty much met our amount that we can spend with our literacy grant as far as payouts and buying our new curriculum with that. We're looking at a couple of sunsets coming up with title expenditures. Not a whole lot to report. Total district expenditures, like I said, January seems like a pretty quiet month. I don't want you to focus too much on the total district expenditures. I would rather you focus on each individual, just because we have just different variations of grants being spent out at different times. Like I said, last year we were spending a lot out with some construction projects being funded out of CARES, and also some of those newer grants we had to send out the mini grants, if you will, last year as well. So I would like you to look at each individual fund. Upcoming tasks, I am still working constantly with our auditor. Corey and I are gonna have a conversation with him again this week. I have finalized his second request of more information, just doing his balances and checks of some capital projects that we had going on last year. I have finalized those, sent those off, and I have not heard anything back, so I'm hoping all is good. I just keep hearing they're short-staffed and they will get to us when they can. So, also we're in the middle of a high-risk student audit that the state is doing. They haven't been on site to visit us about that yet, but we have sent them all their documentation that they need prior to our visit. So they're ready to go. They just not have, to my knowledge, they haven't scheduled a time yet with us. Budgeting is happening. I'm meeting with the principals, directors, starting that budget process, and then the finance committee is also meeting, and then we found some information, as you can see from the financial results. We're looking at getting in contact with some of those individuals that would like some more information regarding the financial status of the district.
So that handout there, sorry, Mrs. Wilson, is from the financial planning survey that we administered and ended February 10th. Just gave you the aggregate numbers, none of the comments, none of the names, just to give you an overview of what input we received.
Also tonight, I'd like to visit with you a little bit on how the budget process works and an overview, high view of the school funding history and the current model components that go into school finance. Timeline of events, this is just how the model came about, where did it generate, how did it all process. The next slide, I just want you to remember that this is a funding model, it's not a spending model. This determines how much money the district will receive. We choose to pick in the categories to best spend the money to meet the needs of the students. We don't necessarily follow the model exactly, and you'll see as I kind of get into discussion what I'm talking about when I talk about utilizing that. The budget approval process, I meet again with all the principals, directors, and then Mr. Jeffco and I make the recommendation to you, the board, and you approve the final budget. We talked about last time at the board work session what average daily membership is. That's the average number of students who are enrolled in the school for the entire year. The historical enrollment, as Mr. Jeffco has stated, is actually the amount of kids that we have attending. It does not mean that they attend all day, every day. So you have to take that into consideration. Districts are funded on the higher of the 3-year rolling average or the actual ADM at the end of the year, whichever is higher. School resources and instruction. Core teachers, the elementary is funded at a 16-to-1 ratio, and the secondary schools are funded at a 21-to-1 ratio. That means for every 16 kids, you get 1 teacher. 21 kids, you get 1 teacher. Alternative in small schools, you're looking at 7-to-1. Specialist teachers, they are 20% of the core teachers at the elementary and 33% of the core teachers at the secondary. So it's just a big math formula. Benefits, benefits in the models are funded at a 21.10 for model salaries. They cover FICA, Medicare, workers' comp, and unemployment, Wyoming retirement. You can see there I've listed out the amounts that the model produces. That isn't exactly what the district chooses to pay. Same thing with health insurance. Health insurance is funded based on the composite rate of the state plan, which is $18,007.88 per funded FTE. Currently, we have 152 staff members on our insurance plan. We do not, our funding model rate as of last year was 144.56. 114.75 are at the school level FTE, and 29.81 is at the district level. I also then have to tell you that substitutes are included in that model FTE as far as they're included in our 144, but we don't get paid the same for their benefits for a substitute teacher, just so you're aware of that. Moving on, it's other support staff and pupil support. So they take our ADM qualifications that we've outlined and they tell us how many principals we get off of our ADM, how many supervisory aides, school secretaries, things like that. Our guidance counselors are only funded at the secondary level. This goes into, it's not a spending model. We choose that we are gonna have a guidance counselor at every school that we are able to. We might not like the model, but that's the way the model works. Teacher-based salary inside the model is $37,540. Our starting base is $41,920. Steps in the model are $830 per year for the first 20 years, and then $603 after 20. Our steps are $357 per year. So this just kind of breaks it down. Funded salaries are $37,540. For a master's, they pay $43,791, and a doctorate, they pay $51,179. We don't offer a doctorate here at Platte One. This is the main slide that I really want you to focus on. Is just the district is heading in the right direction. We are doing everything we can to try and make this work as best we can. As you can see, every year, districts are limited on the amount of cash that they can carry over from every fiscal year within their general funds. In 19 and 20, we were only allowed to reserve 15%, and 2020, 2021, 15% as well. Legislation has offered us to carry over 30% now, which is good. They anticipated that districts would start being able to hopefully build up their cash reserve with all these ARPs and CARES grants coming in, that you would hopefully be able to absorb some of that cost through those grants. So you can see in 1920, our actual cash reserve was $989, $424.15. We have done a lot of work in making that cash balance go up to $3.4 million. However, I say that, and this year we're going to be, if we spend everything that we've allotted, that cash reserve will go down. So we need to continue to do the best thing that we can for Platte One to try and save as much into our general cash reserve. It's also, I lost my train of thought.
I'll let you find it here in a second.
Okay.
So what Mrs. Wilson's talking about is the deficit budget that was approved in there. And if we were to spend that true $750,000 in the red, that 3.4, that's where that $750,000 would come out of.
Sorry, I found it. So, some of you might ask, why do we need a cash reserve? So when we look at $3.4 million, the school district does not get paid every 12 months, okay? We have to be able to float that summertime pay period. And when your pay period is over $1 million a month, that makes things tight. And bills continue to come in, we continue to purchase, we continue to get ready for that next school year. So you have to be able to offer or to have a healthy reserve in order to be able to make payroll in the summertime, to continue to pay those bills when bill runs come through. It's extremely important, and I hope, along with all the other business managers, that they allow us to keep that 30%, just because things are costing more and more. And so when you're looking at, your savings account, you're constantly trying to plan, okay, I know that I'm gonna have rent due, I'm gonna have utilities, the internet, whatever. School districts do the same thing. We have to make sure that our people are taken care of, our power stays on, and we're ready for next school year. So, I just don't want you to freak out and be like, $3.4 million, well, when our payroll's over $1 million a month, we're getting pretty thin by the time we're paying all of our other bills on top of that in the summertime.
So we would also have to consider the fact that with the loss of ADM because of the rolling three-year average, that also further brings that down, right?
Yep. So that is the funding model in a nutshell.
Good job. Good job, Jamie. Thank you.
Good stuff.
Item 3, you have the director's report. We have the January and February Parks and Rec minutes. Our meetings are lining up a little better now. so we didn't sneak one in. Policies for information, added to the agenda, for easier reference for everybody. JHCD, Medical Administration, Safety Programs, EB, and Emergency Plans, EBC. Are three policies that were worked in Policy Committee last Monday, as well as in the work session. So that'll come for first reading next month. Feel free to take your time and read that. Advanced planning, we have a board meeting, a special board meeting known as a work session tomorrow morning, well, tomorrow afternoon, really, it's noon, here at the central office to talk about board training. Here's the agenda up here. Needs assessment, next steps, and questions, all to do with professional development. That is going to happen tomorrow here at the district office at noon. It is an open meeting. I left the work session blank. In our next board meeting, we have March 13th. We moved it up in January because of our spring break that's happening. So, Jeremy, you want to have a work session?
Sure, I'm game.
Yeah.
March 7th looking about right. March 6th, I guess.
Okay.
Do we have any final calendars on that night?
6 p.m. at the middle school?
I believe so, if that works for everybody.
2600 West Mariposa.
Not be there.
That's gonna come pretty quick, so if you have ideas you want on there, just get those to Mr. Kafka or Ms. Light.
Absolutely.
Get those on there.
Yeah, that's right
Things
around the
come
corner.
out in the morning, or tomorrow.
What's that?
I bet we come up with some ideas tomorrow.
Absolutely. All right. Next board meeting, so I guess with that, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Ms. Sock.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Too bad. Motion carries.
I need to stop calling him somebody for giving
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
We'll wait till we start tomorrow.
Thank you all for coming. Absolutely. Stay safe. Absolutely.
So I apologize for that.
No,
You had the funniest look on your face, I'm so sorry. Caught me off guard.
No, I agreed with you. I'd rather have you laugh.
Ready for some.
You did.